Episode 5. What are we going to talk about today?
Are we going to talk about Raina?
No, we're not talking about Raina.
But she's here.
No, we're not talking about Raina. We're going to talk about this guy.
Nobody probably wants to know about it.
Well, so at this point, we've released episode 1, and we're moving forward. And 2 and 3 and 4. And people want to know more about you. Because I talk a lot, so...
It's normal.
Some people have said, hey, what about this guy? So, I wanted to start out by saying who you are to me, because you have always been like my rock and my support and my safety.
Or some guy that you live with.
You are also some guy I live with in my phone. When the phone rings, it does say some guy I live with. But I just want to thank you for never wavering in your commitment to me or our family, and always doing what you could do to support us and showing up for us, and always encouraging me even when I discourage myself. You're like my number 1 fan and my best friend.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Now, if we're against each other in fantasy football...
That's a whole nother story. Don't even bring up fantasy football. Don't even... We are not going there. This was a rough week, guys. This was a rough week in fantasy football for me.
All right. Anyway.
I lost by 0.12 points. Okay, moving on. Anyway, so in episode 1, I talked a lot about
every episode.
about my story, really my side of the story. But you didn't add too much about how things felt for you. And the thought process you went through, and like how your family showed up or didn't show up for you, and if that affected you at all. I know you're not extremely emotional guy, so you're just like, this is just how it is, but the people want to know, like, how did you feel when we saw that pregnancy test was positive?
My bad.
Okay.
No.
That's one way to feel about it.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really have that kind of a thought process about stuff in general. It's not really the way that I am. It's kind of like, well, this thing was in front of us now, and so I just had something I had to deal with, and I had to do it. And it didn't matter what else was going on. I mean, this is now the thing. Like, there's no more discussion. Like, I've just got to do this thing.
Did the thought ever cross your mind that, like, you weren't interested in having a child or children? I mean, you were 19 years old, and it was your second relationship ever that was 2 months old. So, like, do you remember that being...
Well, that wasn't really a thing, right? So I had my 2 options, you had your 2 options, and we agreed on one, which was to keep the baby. And so I didn't really think there was another option. I didn't even
You were entertaining any other ideas.
I didn't think I was just going to go away.
Right.
I mean, at this point I had already, done the deed. The damage was done, right? Like,
it was done. It was done. Growing up, though, like as a kid, I know that I expressed how I'd always just wanted to be a mom and a wife, and raise my kids and have a family. When you were a young kid, do you have memories of ever thinking you would be a dad, or what profession you would have? Like, do you have memories of thinking that far ahead into your future as a kid?
Nope.
So it's just like, get up, ride your bike today, don't fall down the hill again, I mean... Just kid stuff.
Yeah.
Just kid stuff.
I didn't really do that as a kid. I didn't have, like, something I was striving toward that I really thought about,
Yeah.
I didn't start really figuring out what I wanted to do until I started going to college.
Mm.
you know, and even then it wasn't like, this is what I want to do. It was just like, this is what I should do.
Yeah, because we talked very briefly, touched on the fact that it wouldn't have panned out. Like you dropped your classes that you were taking in school when I got pregnant and kind of our lives shifted. But you were on track to do stuff in computer programming, right?
No, in networking, like
networking.
network administrator type stuff. And then it was 2000 and there was the dot-com bust and everything. And there was a ton of people that were available to work that just had experience to go with a skill set that I was just trying to learn.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a great time for what I had decided I was going to learn. That's what happened. I had already started going to school for it, and then the market on it kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I just didn't.
And I feel like being married to you now for 24 years, and being with you for over 25, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the kind, like, your way of doing things is kind of like, as they show up, you shift. Like, okay, this is happening now, we're just going to shift to this because...
Adaptable.
Adapt.
I'll just change to what needs to be done to, you know, take care of business or what have you, right? Whatever it is. You know, and that's what I did. I dropped school and went and ended up working, right?
Right.
So...
Right.
We did that.
And since I have you here...
Oh, no.
When did do you remember deciding...
When I first loved you? Okay.
No,
so
we did that already.
Okay.
We don't need to go back to that topic.
Okay.
But do you remember consciously making the decision to propose to me?
I don't remember the decision to do it. I do not.
I know you went ring shopping.
Yeah, I went ring shopping.
You got me a ring.
This was a thought process.
It was planned out.
It was a thing that happened. But this, keep in mind, this was like over 25 years ago now. Or right at 25 years.
Yeah.
Man, I do not remember the thought process leading up to it at all.
You just know you did it.
I remember the proposal, and I remember where we were.
Proposal too. It was very... Oh, it was so romantic. Like, you put a lot of thought into that.
Did I?
I just feel like it really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it.
Off guard is what you were caught, is it?
I didn't even have this in the notes, but the proposal, this will be a fun topic too.
Oh yeah, okay. So how did the proposal go?
Generally speaking, when people propose, when a man or a woman proposes, nowadays women can propose too when it's not out of the ordinary, right? But there's thought that goes into it. Now, I am of a generation where I feel like sometimes things nowadays are very over the top. But I also realize that some people expect over the top, right? You know, the big planes flying over.
I'm super interested in how you explain all of this.
Right? So I mean, how can I say this?
It's like I'm watching the podcast right now because I'm really interested in how you bring this together.
As a young girl, as I spoke about in the first episode, all I ever wanted to be was a mom and a wife, but I never really dreamt about a wedding or a proposal because back then it wasn't so in your face how all these things happened.
So
right?
You were just like adult woman, then boom, you're just married. No proposal, no wedding, you just all of a sudden now you're married.
So as a young girl, back as far as I can remember, I don't remember proposals being as elaborate as they are nowadays. And if they were, it wasn't as well known. The information wasn't out there. Social media wasn't a thing. The internet wasn't a thing. So growing up, if you saw a wedding, it was like in a magazine or on a sitcom show, or there wasn't somewhere to go to just access seeing a bunch of weddings or proposals or to like run a Google search and see what comes up. So there was nothing there to like imagine it, right? I mean, I knew people were asked to, they were proposed to, but I don't remember anything standing out about proposals to me. And I remember attending a couple of my uncles and aunts' weddings, But
Did they
nothing-
play proposal videos at these weddings?
No, I don't. I mean, I was young, so I wouldn't remember. But.
Okay, so how did your proposal go?
So my proposal, I was caught off guard. You really did a good job surprising me. We were at your aunt's house, and I was down in her kitchen. There was a desk in the kitchen. It's hard to explain, but it was like kitchen, and then what should have been a dining area, but there wasn't a table really. It was just a desk. And I was doing my homework because I was finishing school. I graduated in December of '99, so I was finishing up my schoolwork and sitting at the desk working on it, and you were behind me, and I remember you saying, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "Well, yeah, as long as you don't do me like the guys on Jerry Springer." And I'm just working, and then I hear you say, "Will you marry me again?" And I said, "Yeah, as long as you don't like cheat on me like the guys on Jerry Springer," which, by the way, you may have to Google that depending how old you are. I think he's pretty well known, but I'm also 42 years old, so.
Wow, that's.
We're getting up there. And you said it again. You said, "No, will you marry me?" And you were around on this side, my left side, and I turned around and you were down on your knee with the ring. Oh, you mean like, will I marry you? I was surprised you had a ring. I was surprised you were down on your knee. And I felt a little bad that I kind of ruined the whole thing for you.
You did great.
It was very romantic. Yeah. And so I was just wondering if you had if you planned that out.
No idea.
You just know I feel like you got the ring and you were so excited that the same day you just asked me to marry you.
I don't think that's the case, but I also have no idea.
You have no recollection.
Absolutely none.
Okay.
I've had to make room for other things, okay?
Other things in your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Well.
Week 3 last year, my fantasy football... Oh, wait.
We're not talking about fantasy.
Well, no, the
Why
point
are we
is
talking
that
about
we've had to
this?
replace that older information with this newer information. It's more important.
Okay. Gotcha.
Probably not good.
Okay.
So that was the proposal.
That was the proposal. Yeah.
We had to get hitched.
We did. We did get married at some point. What happened? Do you even remember what happened when we got married? We drove up to Reno.
Yeah, I would have no idea.
With your aunt and your mom.
Because we needed witnesses.
I think your mom met us separately. And we were going to be there for 3 days. And basically, they were like, "Okay, pick a day you want to get married." And I feel like it was like a Tuesday. I probably look it up.
Who doesn't want to get married on a Tuesday?
What day of the week was it?
I don't know that it's necessary.
I'm just curious now. I just want to know. So there, we were up there for I think 3 days. And we just were like, okay, let's get married on the 25th. So we were up there in July. And we went to the Heart of Reno Chapel.
Yeah, should we go back and visit it?
We did. We tried to do that.
And what happened?
It's a parking lot now.
Oh, yeah, it's a parking lot.
It was a Tuesday! Oh, wow, it really was a Tuesday. I don't know how I remember that. But anyway, we were there like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we just decided we were going to get married on the Tuesday.
I totally would have remembered that.
I can't believe I pulled that out. So yeah, we went into this Heart of Reno Chapel, and I think did your aunt pay for it or your mom? One of them paid for it.
I don't know. We could have got the Elvis wedding though.
You were wearing a Stussy shirt?
No.
What
No.
were you wearing? I thought that's what you were wearing.
Man, she can't even remember. As
Quicksilver?
soon as I say it, okay, yes.
Quicksilver. A Stussy hat and a Quicksilver shirt. I'm picturing it. And I was wearing like khaki capris and a baby blue V-neck t-shirt. And we just went and got married, and I had these little silk flowers.
But at least she wasn't pregnant anymore.
Yet. Actually, I might have been pregnant.
Not quite yet.
Almost. And yeah, and so we just did the little chapel wedding thing, and they bought the something package that came with photos and the silk flowers and 2 bottles of champagne, like the mini bottles of champagne, which we couldn't even leave with because we weren't old enough.
Yeah, we just left those in the fridge for like 10 years or something.
I don't know.
Forever.
I think we finally got rid of them when we moved here. Yeah, so that was our wedding. And then come to find out, it was actually my cousin's birthday and my aunt and uncle's anniversary. I didn't. You don't
need to take these things into account when you're eloping anyway.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
But my aunt and uncle are still married to this day. And my cousin, she's the same age as I am, just a few months younger. And lovely people. I'm happy to share a date with them that we all get to celebrate. So, and I think, anyway.
Anyway, was this in your questions, or did I just get you off
but
of
yeah,
topic?
well, we talked about the proposal, and so then we talked about, that, but.
This is a real grilling that's going on right here.
It is. Well, the next thing I have on here is his feelings, is your feelings about things.
I don't have feelings.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, I mean, I know you have feelings, but you don't express them a lot. Like, you aren't super emotional about things. You're very, like you were saying on one of the last episodes, you're very scientific minded. You're very factual. And I feel like you don't have a lot of time for emotions yourself. You take time to deal with me and my emotions.
There's a lot to deal with there.
Which I love and I appreciate about you. You give me the space to be who I am, and you comfort me when I need comforting, and you shake me up when I need shaken up.
I also comfort when she doesn't need comforting, and that's a problem. You can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be in another room.
Yeah, but I don't think that you just don't get emotional about things, and as problems come up, you adapt, and you have always been like so reliable, so steady. Remember when we did the paintings, the spirit paintings?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said when I looked back. I was looking at yours, just like, it's just so steady. You painted your spirit. It's just like you're consistent, and I always know what I'm going to get with you. I don't ever have to question it. And I really appreciate that, because I think growing up, we talked about in some of the other episodes that I never knew what version of my parents we would get. I
never know what version of you I'm going to get, depending on the moon phase or whatever is happening. I don't know.
Welcome to my hippie life. I love it. Yeah, but I mean, I wonder if some of that is that, were you allowed to express your feelings as a child? If you were to be emotional, was it something that was accepted, or was it kind of like suck it up and like boys don't cry? Or do you have any memory of anything as a child?
I mean, I wasn't like, at that time, like, you're not really supposed to cry, so it's not really there wasn't any other kind of parenting then, right? I was born in 79, so that's just what it was. My dad was whatever he was. He ended up being a plumber, and he did that for a lot of years, but he also did other stuff, always, what is it called? Manual labor stuff, right? That's what he did, like, his whole life, so.
Yeah. So you don't.
So it's just, he wasn't like he wasn't exactly a big softie or anything.
Yeah. I could see that. I think he softened as he got older.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really get to have much of a relationship with him after a few years of our marriage, like into our marriage, maybe more like 10 years or so. Because we kind of drifted off. But anyway, that's probably another episode for another day. Did that affect you, though? Like, I mean, my parents are still together now. I never had to go through, them being divorced or anything. Do you have any adverse memories of that, or memories of them before they divorced, or?
I don't know that things are necessarily adverse. Yeah. I mean, it's just something that I went through, right? Whatever it was, whatever the thing was,
But it wasn't like really, like we have people we know that have gone through divorces where it was like nasty and stuff. Like you don't remember.
I mean, there were times where it wasn't good. Like there was years there where we didn't have any visits with our dad, with my dad, like because I have a brother too, and so we didn't have visits with him.
Yeah.
I remember one Christmas he didn't have visits, but we were at my grandma's house, which was his mom. He was adopted when he was a kid, and it was his mom. And then while we were there, the doorbell rang, and then there were presents left there for us. And we knew we were like 10, 11, and we knew they were from him.
Yeah.
But
you didn't get to see him.
That's not what it said on there, and we didn't get to see him.
Did it say Santa?
It said Santa.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Aw. But you knew where it came from, and
but we
you didn't
knew
get
where
to
it
see
came
him.
from. It was actually one of my favorite toys when I was a kid. Not because of where it came from, just because it was a good toy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was
So
like
I'm
this
saying
giant.
because of their attachment
It was like
to
a
it.
giant G.I. Joe vehicle thing, and it had two
Like a
giant
tank or
rocket,
something,
like
or?
intercontinental ballistic missiles on it. Like, it was amazing. It was great.
It was
had
a
turrets
great-
on the side. It was great
Wow.
for a kid who's
Yeah.
like 11.
Right. But you don't remember like being sad that you didn't see him, or you don't feel like that really affected you much?
I don't know. I don't remember if I was or not.
Yeah. You don't have memories of sadness around it at all.
No. And then we did that, and then my mom ended up remarrying a guy, and so then I had a stepdad, and not a great guy.
Yeah.
He didn't like beat us or anything,
Oh,
right?
that's good.
Like he wasn't physically abusive. He was just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And that didn't change after we were adults. It didn't change once I was married, and it didn't change once we had kids and then they would want us to visit. He was still this way. It did not change.
I still think it hasn't changed. And they're
It probably
divorced
hasn't
now.
changed. So I had to grow up with this guy who was just not a good human being in general. He just wasn't a good human being. And there's not a lot of people, I will say, are just genuinely bad people, and he was one of those people.
Yeah.
And it's, again, not just because he was my stepdad. Like, I know him, I know his character, it's terrible.
Yeah. You're like, no, this is a bad guy. It's a bad guy.
Just a bad person.
Yeah. And so, but by the time that happened, you were already older, right? By the time she remarried.
Not that much older. I was probably like 13. I was like 13 or 14. And then we moved out to Oakley, which is out there. It was the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
Not so much the middle of nowhere now.
It's all developed out there.
But we moved out there when I was going into high school, or I guess 10th grade.
Yeah.
And because middle school was 7th, 8th, and 9th when I went to school.
Yeah.
And then I went out there after 9th grade. And I was there for a few years.
Until you graduated high school and you moved out to Richmond.
Yeah, I graduated high school, and then I wasn't allowed to live at home anymore.
Yeah.
That was just the way they were.
And that was never a topic for us with our kids. I don't ever remember either. We never said one way or another, but I don't think either one of us were like, okay, you're 18, get out.
Yep, that's what happened to me. So I left and went to live with my aunt. And part of that agreement was that I could live there, but I had to go to school. So I started going to school.
And then we started hanging out.
And then some chick kept coming over and hanging out with me.
And you just fell in. And fell in love. You fell in love with me. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sweet. That's so sweet.
Yes. The thing I think about when she says something like that is, did she actually come up with it right then? Or had it been stewing for like 3 days and she's just sitting on that?
I don't stew on things like that. No, I don't. I really don't. I don't.
don't know. I feel like it's something she thought of at some point and was like, man, I'm going to use this. I'm totally using this.
No, I didn't. And when I do come up with those things, I'm very proud of myself because it's normally me doing it.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I got one in on him. Yeah. You know, because it's normally you making the innuendos and the comments like that.
So then I went to school, and then, you know, we were hanging out, and then we ended up getting married, and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you never thought about having a family and all of that pre us getting together. And then when we did get together, just like, okay, well, we both agree that we're going to have the baby, and we wanted to stay together. We still loved each other, right? And so we wanted to make it work. How would you say, we kind of touched on some of the prior episodes about how you worked nights. So I had the kids a lot of the time by myself. But when we did parent together, we would make decisions together. Do you feel like there were times that you kind of would put your foot down on certain things with me, or you just kind of followed my lead, or how do you feel that worked with the two? With
I think
us?
the dynamic was, like, since you know, had to deal with the kids all day, that you set the majority of the rules there. But if something did really bother me, I obviously would still have said something or approached it or dealt with it. You know,
Yeah.
we would have dealt with it. But we also were pretty good, I think, about not figuring those things out in front of the kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that we made an effort that when we did have to have those conversations, it wasn't in front of them. They always, I feel like we would have to ask them, but I feel like I know we did try to put on a pretty united front, even if we disagreed, it wasn't something we do in front of them. And this is something that I think some people will do, like a marriage counseling or, you know, premarital therapy, which I guess it's all the same thing,
No, you
or
did the air quotes.
planning, marital planning, where you
Again,
just
with
kind
the
of
air
sit down
quotes.
and you have discussions about these topics that we were just thrown into, right? Like, are you going to raise them with religion? Are you going to spank? Are you going to, you know, eat organic food only? Are we celebrating holidays with my family or your family? Or
homeschooling them?
are you homeschooling them? These are topics that I feel like honestly should be discussed before you would enter into a relationship, a marriage, a, you know, parental partnership. However your family looks, I feel like it would be beneficial to have these conversations ahead of time, because otherwise they come up in the moment and then you're left trying to
Explain
figure
that
out.
You got to explain that.
Well, and figure it out with each other. Like, you could have a major disagreement. I mean, because this goes back to unmet expectations, right? Or expectations that are different. So, say we meet and we get married and I grew up, you know, going to church every weekend and you didn't, and I want to bring our kids to church, and you're like, no, I don't believe in, you know, organized religion. That's not a topic you had before you actually had kids and had a family. Now, that's like, that can be a deal breaker for some people, you know?
Well, the thing for me is that I feel like a lot of people do not have enough communication. Like, they just don't talk enough about random whatever it is.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff she tells me every day that she does, I couldn't care less. I couldn't. But part of my duty is to listen to that, let her talk about her day, talk about the things that interested her or what she had to deal with or the things that frustrated her, so that she can get that out and isn't just holding on to these things she wants to talk about. And who else is she going to go talk to about it? There's nobody more convenient than the person that you're stuck under the same roof with.
You are
So
convenient.
You might as well
You're very
just
convenient.
accept that this is your role and you guys get to discuss these things. And then I get to have input on those things she tells me so that she can disregard that.
I don't even say, like, you say you might as well accept. I feel like, you know, the way that we started out, we really were just good friends before anything romantic developed between us. And I think that helped our relationship survive because we didn't start out trying to hide things from each other, right? We didn't start out trying to be somebody who we weren't to impress somebody. We were just, this is who we are naturally, and we knew each other for so many years just as acquaintances, friends, whatever you want to call it, before there was any romance involved. And so I think that because of that, we knew each other. So even when I'm like trying my best to keep something from you, keep a secret, like when we did your surprise party, or when you try to surprise me with things, we can read each other's faces. I'll be like, what are you up to? And I can tell there's something happening that I don't know about.
There's very few times that she's fooled me on something like this, and there's only one that stands out in my memory.
Your 30th birthday?
No. She did a photo shoot.
Oh, the boudoir shoot?
And I had no idea what was going on.
That was funny. Because you walked in on me shaving my legs. Because I didn't want to take a whole shower. Because I'd already done my hair. And so I was sitting on the side of the bathtub, shaving my legs before I went to this boudoir photo shoot as a surprise for him. And I thought you had caught me. When you came in and you're like, what are you doing? And I don't even remember what I made up on the fly.
It was some lie, though, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely a lie.
And I'm
not good at lying I'm not really a liar, but also, especially to you. If I'm trying to lie, not in a bad way, but like as a secret, I'm still terrible at it.
Are you good at it in a bad way, though?
No, like I don't go around lying to people is what I'm saying. That's not typically part of my character. But when I am actively trying to lie to you to keep a secret to surprise you, I'm still not good at it because you can tell. So I think that we, developed this closeness where we can really tell, and almost more at like a energetic level. We can feel each other's energies if they're off. And, you'll say, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. And you're like, no, really, what's wrong? Right?
And she still says nothing.
I still will say
47
nothing.
times.
But also there's times when I'm not ready to talk about something, and I feel like I'm starting to get better at saying I'm not ready to talk about it instead of saying nothing.
And I don't understand that part, but we still can't talk about it because she's not ready.
Well, if I'm upset about something, ever since I was younger, my mom would always tell me how I was like, my weapons were my words. Like I was so mean with my words. My little sister would fight with me and hurt me, and she was very, I wasn't a fighter, so I would always lose. But I was very mean with my words, right? And so early on, when we would have disagreements or I would be upset, I would want to retreat and work through my emotions before I spoke to you about it because I didn't want to hurt you with my words. But you were very much, and still are very much, there's a problem, let's solve it. You don't understand the needing the time to, think about it.
No, because I just want to get it done.
Right, exactly. And I need time to process my emotions and, be able to say things from a place of love and not frustration to make progress on what's going on. Instead of saying things to be hurtful or saying things out of pain that would be hurtful because I'm hurting, But you've gotten better about giving me my space, and I'm working on getting better at actually saying I just need time to process it. But that's come after a lot of years. I remember there's one time when I don't even know what we were disagreeing about something, and you wanted me to talk to you, and I did not want to talk to you. And I went into Katrina's bedroom, and I sat against the door and put my feet on the ground, and you were trying to push the door to come in because you wanted to talk about it, and I didn't want to talk about it because I knew I was going to be mean. And you sat on the other side of the door, and you're like, I'm not leaving until we talk about it. And I was like, I'm not talking about it right now. I don't want to talk to you. And that was one time that you really put your foot down. I don't even remember what it was about now.
I remember this very clearly.
You do?
No, I don't remember a single bit of this. I don't remember any of that.
He has no recollection of the last 25 years.
I don't remember
He remembers a week ago.
I think the whole thing could actually be made up.
I did not make this up.
I wouldn't
Oh,
know
you're
any
saying I
different.
could make it up. No, I definitely didn't. It was like, because we also don't fight. We don't fight. We don't argue. We don't swear at each other. I mean, I guess you could say we argue. We get in
Square up.
disagreements,
Square
but
up right now.
it's not something that's common for us. Like, we get annoyed with each other like anybody would get annoyed with, somebody that they're sharing a house with and a space with. But we just aren't. I've known people that have been in relationships that are very volatile, and I mean, you could say very abusive, and we just don't live that way. I don't know. I couldn't imagine. I don't like being sworn at. That was something I put my foot down early on. Not swearing at me, and you're not swearing at the kids. But you grew up being sworn at.
They just asked me a couple of months ago if everything was okay at home.
Yeah, when you went to the hospital.
I lied to them there
Good.
for you.
You better.
I know.
Don't tell them the truth. But you grew up being sworn at. That was just normal. Just normal to just swear at you. And for me, I physically react to somebody swearing at me. If they're using vulgar language in a mean way towards me, I feel it in my body.
I don't know, I just have a tough skin. Words are not going to get to me like they do to other people.
They get to me. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Maybe
I'll deal with it.
That's why you're so mean with your words.
Yeah, but I don't use bad words.
Well,
I just say mean things, not like swearing. So, all right, let's see.
Maybe your sisters thought they were bad words.
Maybe my sisters thought, oh, I would just say mean things, like to purposely try to hurt people's feelings because I was hurting. I wanted people to hurt like I was hurting. Huh?
Like what?
Like what did I say?
Yeah. What did the 7-year-old Melissa say?
I remember one time that I got spanked. That we were up at our family's cabin in Echo Lake above South Lake Tahoe. And it's a little tiny, like, 1-bedroom cabin with a loft. And my
cabin. I wish I had
sister, we didn't own it. It was a family cabin.
Okay,
anyway.
Yeah. See how easy it is to get her off track?
Yeah, he can get me distracted so easily.
So easy.
Anyway, one of the times I remember being spanked is that my little sister had my hair barrette and she was wearing it in her hair. We were getting ready to leave out for the day. And my parents had 5 kids and everybody was ready to basically walk out the door. And I told her to take it out of her hair because it was mine. And she hadn't asked if she could use it. And she would lose things a lot. So I didn't want her wearing my little hair tie or hair barrette, whatever it was, because I didn't want it to get lost because it was mine. And so I told my mom, of course, Mom, she's wearing my hair tie or whatever, my barrette, whatever it was. And my mom at the time that I get now that I'm a parent had 5 kids. She was ready to get out the door and everybody was clothed and had their shoes on. And it was just like, let's go. Said, it's already in her hair. Just let her wear it. And I said, fine, you can wear it. You're ugly with it anyway. Because I was being mean. Because my feelings were hurt and I wasn't being heard. And I was just, and so it was, I'm upset. So now you're ugly because you're wearing my hair tie that I don't want you to wear. And then my mom said, if you say it again, I'm going to slap you across your face. And I said, then do it. And I ran into the bedroom and buried my face in the pillows.
Mm-hmm.
Also a very Melissa move because I was thinking, ha ha ha, she's not going to get my face. And then I felt the sting of the hand right on my booty. And so that was one of the times I got spanked. And I mean,
it sounds like you deserved it. Yeah,
at the time in the 80s, 90s, whenever it was.
I don't feel there's a probably here. I think she.
So I basically said, then do it. I challenged her. And then at that point, my mom was probably like, oh my gosh, now I have to spank her. So sorry, Mom, because I know you didn't want to do that. No, my sister still got to wear it.
And you got spanked.
And I got spanked. I had a bad day that day.
And then you still had to leave the house.
We had to go out and do the family trip. I don't even know where we were going.
Did she lose the barrette?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, honestly. But
Man,
that
yeah.
was an example of, like, I was being mean because my feelings were hurt. Like, my sister wasn't ugly because she was wearing my beret, but I was mad, so I wanted to hurt her feelings because she was wearing my beret without asking.
Don't you think it would be nicer to frame it differently and be like, you're only cute because you're wearing my beret?
I mean, probably, but I wasn't thinking about that at that age.
You see?
I was thinking I would have to say something mean because I'm upset.
Which is kind of a backwards way of
and I
saying
need to express myself in a way to make myself feel better since what I want is not happening,
And the best way to do that at the time was, you ugly.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an example of me being mean with my words. I'm not like that as much anymore as I've realized it. I don't know when the last time that I said something just to be mean to hurt somebody was.
Yeah, probably about my fantasy football team.
I will do that. I will do that. So, anyhow, that is an example of that. So, I want to talk a little bit about how you love.
Are we allowed to do that on this podcast?
Not that kind of love.
Oh.
No, not that kind of love. That's not allowed. But the way that you show up for people that you love.
What do you mean?
How do you express that? Because if you have somebody over here that you don't care about and somebody over here that you do care about, you're going to treat them differently. Right? Like if your kids call you and they're like, hey, I need some help with this, or hey, I'm really struggling right now. You're going to show up and you're going to make time for them. But if somebody that you don't really care about calls and you're just like, no, I don't feel that, you're not going to do it. What does your love look like to people? Do you know?
I have no idea.
You have no idea, but do you know how it feels? You're like, I have no idea where you're going with this. Look at your face.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't been through all the hippie training that she's been through.
It's not training.
Indoctrination.
Well, we know that your love language is like quality time, right? So, for instance,
right now,
yes, quality time.
Raina and I.
You guys are having some fabulous quality time right there. A little jealous. Well,
you should be.
Like for me, the way I've always experienced your love is just, I feel it by your actions, right? Which makes sense, right? Because I think that yours was quality time, and I don't remember if it was words of affirmation.
I think we should probably look that up.
Yeah, we're going to look that up and we're going to talk about that because some people might not even know about that. I remember looking it up and it really changed a lot of things because, knowing the way that you give and receive love helps a lot in relationships because for me it's acts of service. So you may be like, oh, I want to, spend time with her this week, so let's go see a movie or let's play a board game or something like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all fun and games and that's really cool and everything, but if I came home from work and you had dinner on the table and the dishes were done, I'd be like, you really love me. You love me so much. Because I'm an acts of service girl.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how I have seen you show up for your kids is how you love them. Just really busting your butt while they were little so that you could provide for us and provide for our family. Trying to give them as much as you could because you loved them and cared about them and wanted to support them, but you weren't as emotional. So you weren't like the dad that did snuggles and hugs, right? You would give bedtime punches and stuff like that. You weren't.
The birthday punches still happen.
The birthday punches, that's what but I feel like you would go in and punch the boys at night for bed. You would give them a little hug and just give them some punches. It wasn't, some dads are down on the floor and snuggling their kids and giving kisses and hugs, and that's just not...
We were wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, just spending time with them.
They would get thrown on the bed.
You guys had a lot of wrestling sessions. And then you had the thing you did with Katrina with the tickling, right?
Yeah.
What was the tickling thing you did with her?
The one finger tickle
What?
test.
The one finger tickle test. Yeah. And she hated that when she was mad at you. When she would be mad at you, instead of going in and like trying to fix anything or talk about anything, you would just pull out the one finger tickle test,
Yep.
and get her to giggle, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It made her so mad because she didn't want to smile or laugh or be happy around you at all.
The fact was that once I did that, wherever I touched her, she would laugh like she was ticklish.
Mm-hmm.
And she could not help it. It didn't matter if it was her forehead, if it was her foot, if it was her shoulder, it did not matter. She was going to laugh.
But I feel like that
and so
was...
she hated that when she was
Since
mad.
you weren't like a big on really talking things through and talking about emotions and stuff because you hadn't been raised with that was kind of like your way of going in and like calling a truce, of like saying sorry. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. No, this deeper level of things is not really my forte.
But for instance, when you knew
For
that you would hurt her
instance, still not my
feelings,
thing.
if you knew that you hurt her feelings and like you knew she was upset about something, I remember we would have conversations and I'd be like, you said this, and she was your only daughter. So it wasn't like you had a lot of experience raising daughters or being, around sensitive females that much, right? So I feel like for you, it was kind of your way of breaking the ice and apologizing because you would go do this one finger tickle test and then read her a book, or, you guys would talk about something else, but it would kind of like blow over whatever the initial emotions were. So I feel like it was kind of your icebreaker to go in and kind of extend an olive branch. Like,
I'm going to have to go with if you say so.
okay.
I can't remember any specific instances.
Right.
Like, I remember doing the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? I remember this tickle test, but I don't remember the instances that I used it.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It still works to this day. She's 23.
3.
Yeah, she's 23. Still works to this day.
Anyway, and then the boys, I don't know. I don't think you did that with the boys. Did you do that with the
No.
boys? I feel like it was just something you did with her. But, yeah. But the way that I would like describe your love is
I do
consistent
remember like doing a lot more
and steadfast.
hugging and stuff with Ethan.
Yeah. Well, you started to, get into hippie talk, but you started softening a little more too. You started settling into being a dad, and
He also is a lot more emotional than
Yeah.
Alex. So
well, I think he was more emotional as a young child. I think that, everybody, was a little bit different, but he was always a little more, I wouldn't say emotional, but just more sensitive with his feelings.
I'm super sensitive.
You are not super sensitive.
Rude. My feelings are hurt now because I'm so sensitive.
Yeah, not so much.
So yeah, I do remember that, but I don't remember any specific instances, and I don't remember specific instances with the kids, with the boys, and I don't really know how to answer your question at all.
I was just wondering, you don't have to have an answer for it. I think eventually you will. You're starting to soften a lot, and your heart's opening up more. You're wearing green, the color of the heart chakra.
How can you have a heart and a heart chakra? Don't you need your heart just to, pump blood?
Your chakras are your energetic centers, so.
That's a lot of
Anywho.
information that I don't understand fully.
Anywho, so looking back on our last 25 years and raising the kids and doing all that stuff, how do you feel about it now? How do you feel that you did, that we did? How?
I think you did great.
Thank you.
You did great. You raised the kids. They graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
two of them went to college or are going to college, and the other one decided he didn't want to go to college, so he's in the trades. Like,
He's always known that he didn't want to
They
go to
just-
college.
you know, I think you
Which
did great there.
I'm super proud of him for. I think he wants to be like you, working with his hands.
Well,
He watched you do that while he was growing up. Yeah, he likes.
the stuff he's doing, you know, he's young, so he's just getting into it. And he has to, you know, work his way up, but he's learned a lot of stuff. He obviously knows more than I know at this point, because I just did maintenance stuff for a city, and he's done like construction stuff, so it's a different skill set for sure. But I would say you did a really good job.
And Alex is like you. He did the college thing, but he decided that that wasn't gonna work, and he taught himself how to code during the pandemic. Like you can open up a book, you can open up an article, you can teach yourself something by reading it. I can't do that. Alex has that same quality that you have. Like where you guys can just teach yourself things I could have never done. He's got a brilliant mind like you. And, you know, it's just, I love all of the gifts and the strengths that each one of our kids have. Katrina is such a nurturer. She's always been a nurturer. She's been a little mom her whole life, and she's finally settled on teaching. So she's in school for that now. And it, you know, takes special people to deal with little kids. She likes the little ones.
Yeah, I wasn't as tolerant for a long time. I'm much more tolerant now than I was when they were younger.
Yeah.
I just wasn't good at that aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
Or a few other aspects, actually. I just wasn't good at many of these aspects. I changed some diapers.
Yeah.
I didn't avoid it all the time. I did avoid it sometimes.
You did avoid it sometimes.
A
For
good
sure.
amount of
You
times.
also had Ethan more than the other two, because I had like picked up a little part-time job when he was 2. So you would get off work and then you would watch him until I worked for like the 4 hours in the morning or whatever, and then I'd come home and you would go to bed. So you had him more than you had the other kids. But I'm really proud of all 3 of the kids, and I'm proud of them for going after what they have a passion for. Instead of just saying, I should do this because it makes good money, like actually finding what they have a passion for, you know?
I would say that if I could do it differently, there would be some things I would change.
Okay.
Even though I like the way they turned out, I would try to, well, first off, I would try to not work nights. I know I said this before, but man, I would try to not work nights. But even if I still had to, I would try to be more better
More better?
when I wasn't working. Like on my days off, or even after work or before work, whatever the time around my sleep was, where I just would be able to do more than I did. Because I feel like a lot of the time, all through my 20s and into my early 30s, I was just tired. And I mean, I played video games a good amount of time, like more than I probably should have with young kids. But at the same time, I also just felt like physically drained so much. And so, despite the fact that, you know, she's got the kids all day and then's trying to let me sleep, I don't know, maybe it was selfish, but I was just like tired. And my body was just tired because of what I was doing. And that's not to say that yours wasn't.
I was doing a lot of things too.
I'm not saying
I
yours
was doing
wasn't.
a lot of things.
But man, it wasn't great, and I think I could do better now, knowing what I know. I also would do better and not have a back injury.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So there's that.
You just wish you had. So it sounds like you're just saying you wish you had more time to actually spend with the kids.
I think I would have done a lot better, but I think it's not just time with the kids. It's also would have a lot to do with my attitude when I could spend that time with the kids.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was extremely tired or I was missing sleep that I would be too short. and
Yeah.
that wasn't necessarily good for them.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that.
But also I'm older and the kids are older, and so now you look back and you're like, man, we were a lot tougher on those kids than parents are on kids now. For sure.
Yeah.
But also we weren't nearly as tough on them as I was,
Yeah.
as my parents were on
Yeah.
me, and probably not as much as your parents were on you.
Yeah.
And so it definitely has gotten more gentle parenting over the years. And that's not to say that gentle parenting is always the way to go. Like, there's a time when you need to put your foot down and handle
Or
your...
everybody doesn't just get a trophy.
Yeah, you need to handle your business. Like, this is what it is. I'm the parent. I've got to do this thing. I'm not your best friend right now. And that's just the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
And that's tough because it seems like a lot of kids, maybe not a lot, but some, kind of get to walk over their parents. And not just parents that are together, but especially if the parents have split, then there's a whole different dynamic.
There a little bit.
Because the parents want to be the parent that they want to like more, because they don't like the other parent sometimes.
I mean, we weren't never divorced, but I feel like there's probably some guilt that lies there for parents that are divorced of, you know, wishing that they could have kept things together for their kids or created something more solid, or maybe if they don't have a great relationship and the co-parenting is difficult, just wishing it wasn't so difficult for the kids. So I think that sometimes that comes up when you have, you know, parents that are co-parenting. But
That's another
I'm grateful
topic,
that we never had to do that.
I would go back and I would try to make the time I had better and not be as much of a, I don't know the word for it.
Grump.
I guess a grump would work. Because you're tired.
Not so grumpy.
You're working nights and then you're home during the day, and when do you wake up? 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Well, I think if you weren't so grumpy, you'd have more patience for them to just be kids. I think maybe that was a thing, is that you just were more impatient with them being kids because you were tired, you know? I don't know if grumpy's the right word. Maybe just you just have more patience, you know, to deal with the things that are difficult to deal with kids.
You're going to have patience to deal with her right now.
I know. You've done great. You've been a good sport. I appreciate you. Yeah.
We'll see.
Huh?
We'll see about that.
We'll see. Yeah. Yeah. And basically, I think that's about it. You know, thanks for being honest and open and not knowing that this is what the episode was going to be about.
I did not know. She didn't tell me what was happening here. So she really wanted the candid part. She was really going for the candid conversations part.
Candid conversations with no reservations. I think we nailed it.
Yeah?
Yeah, good job. High five.
Alright. I didn't move for that. She had to do all that.
Anyway, we will see you all next week. We're still going with this. I don't know how many episodes we'll do, but until we decide, we're going to keep going.
She's not going to tell me what next week is about either.
Maybe you get to choose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
Robert's choice next week.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Come again.